place for the memorial, in fact, the celebration of life for Jude Rennolds. Celebration of a life well lived, over 50 years survived. So this is the time and place for that. Why don't we start with the serenity prayer? God, grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know. First of all, what a great turnout. Thank you all for coming. My name is Harvey, and Jude was my sponsor for a lot of years. And I've got to tell you, I've spoken at a lot of meetings, a lot of big meetings, a lot of small meetings. Don't call me nervous for a lot of years, but I'm a little bit nervous up here. You know, conducting this for my sponsor, 29-year sponsor. I think the format of this meeting is based upon what Jude's wife, Christine, has suggested. We're going to call a few people by name up to the podium. Just people that she thought of that she would like to hear from. And then after that, we're going to have an open podium. I don't want to call on people. You just come up and say whatever you want to say for however long or short you want to say. We appreciate it. We also, I've been reminded, we have cards here, which allows you to make a note of any anecdote or anything you'd like to say about Jude, and it'll go in the book for remembrance. And we also have CDs that I think Chris went out of the way to get. So with Jude speaking at the Arlington. So without further ado, I'd like to call Kevin up here. Kevin's a longtime friend of Jude, and there's no way we can do this without him. Okay. Wow. Tell you what, folks. I'm Kevin. I'm an addict. And grateful to be here today. Grateful to be alive today. Here to support Chris and anybody else that has sadness or feels lost because of Jude's passing. I got pink handy G-string underneath my boxers so that I can catch the snatch on the way out of here today. It says parking in the rear on the front. Oh boy. And that's the way Jude and I used to talk and get along with each other. I have sadness, but I'm going to tell you all that I'm numb right now. Okay? I don't have any distinct feelings because in the last 6 months, all three of the men that either sponsored me or guided me through my life to this point have died. First, it was, our good friend Don T. And then it was my sponsor that I have up north, Bill. He passed away. And then Jude passed away, all within like 3 months of each other. And it was a period of time in my life where I was having some serious health problems, and all I could focus on was getting through that. And so, what are the gifts that Jude taught me? One of the most beautiful gifts I ever learned in my life was to be present. I'll explain that to you in a second. I was 17 years old, and I was a spoiled brat kid from the San Fernando Valley who had a drug and alcohol problem. And I went to this rehab place, and they had a meeting there in the basement on Thursday nights, and that's the first time I ever met Jude because he came down to that meeting. And when I got out of there, I had this wonderful sponsor who told me that if I had a car, that it was my turn to go pick up Jude down in Hollywood and bring him out to North Hollywood or wherever we were going to a meeting that night.
And my attitude was, why the fuck do I want to go pick up some stupid blind dude down in Hollywood that I've only met a couple times? I didn't know what God was doing. But what happened from that point on is that we developed a relationship that you can't buy anywhere, can't find anywhere. He knew my soul. He knew everything about me. I never in my life was afraid to tell that man the truth about anything. And if you don't understand what a gift that is, then you haven't learned how to get rid of your secrets. Because secrets are what kill us. And when I went out after having many, many years of sobriety, one of the things that I quit doing was telling him the truth. So I lied to myself and I lied to him. And when you lie to the people that you love, you break their hearts. And I broke a lot of people's hearts. But, you know, I've been clean for a pretty long time again now. And that time I spent with Jude, you know, it's so vast. If you're talking about 40, let's see, so since 1980, so that's 44 years now. Talking to a man, maybe the least time I ever talked to him was I probably didn't talk to him for a couple of months when I was getting loaded again, because you didn't want to hear from me when I was loaded. But other than that, I've probably pretty much talked to that man at least every week of my life since then, almost every day of the last couple of years, because what was going on with my health and his health. We got to share such beautiful, beautiful memories of all the wonderful things we experienced in life. And we would laugh, or Chris would be in the background, I'd say something, and you'd go, oh, yeah, but what about this? And then Chris would go, yeah, but what about that one? And it would just be like, we just keep going on and on. And when I get back to that teaching me to be present, I made a commitment to him. I think I had about 6 months clean. We were driving somewhere. You know, we all have, what are those things we have now that tell us where to go? And these little fucking things. What's it called?
GPS.
GPS. That blind man, Jude, was better than a GPS. If we were going camping somewhere, I wouldn't look it up on the map how to get there. I'd just put him in the car. That motherfucker would tell me which one, where, what highway to take, where to get off, what do those streets take, where to turn. He would take me up mountain roads that probably people hadn't been on in years and tell me you turn left up here and right up here and then we'd be right at the spot. I would scratch my head and go, how the fuck does this blind motherfucker know how to do this shit? We'd have to go someplace in Hollywood. He'd go, no, don't go that way, man. You go down this street and turn left in the alley and go behind that place. And if you turn right twice, you'll be right in the parking lot. I go, what the fuck? It was amazing. So I told him, if you can tell me where to go, I'm going to tell you everything that I see that's worth talking about. Tell him, see. I told him, I'll be your eyes. I'll start telling you what I'm seeing that you would like to experience, or I think you might like to experience, because I can't say everything I see as we're driving down the street, but there's stuff that you can pick out. And it made me focus on being present, looking at what's going on right now so I could share it with him in the most beautiful way I could, so he could picture it in his head from however he remembered TV shows or movies or what he saw as a kid before he couldn't see anymore. And that created a bond of trust. I'm trusting a blind man to tell me where to drive my car, and he's trusting me to tell him the truth about what I'm seeing and what's going on. And we used to go camping. I used to take that guy hiking up places nobody would ever even think that guy could go. With his arm on my shoulder, and we'd go. We used to go everywhere. I had his first dog, Hogan, for the last year that Hoagie was alive. So many adventures in the cars with the dogs. So many camping trips. But as as a companion and as a friend and as a spiritual advisor, he always taught me really simple, quiet stuff. Just be still. Let it be, you know, trust God. It's going to work out. Just be patient. I was never patient. But to have the gift of a friendship and a bond with somebody like that can never be all the way described. It only has to be experienced. So I'm just giving you little nutshells of what went on. Wow. You know, I knew he was fading last week. I think we both knew. Didn't think it was going to happen. But this time he's going to go to the hospital again. It's going to be fine. He'll come home. We can talk again. But that's not there. It's not. There, you know, I was telling my friend on the way down here that I don't think I could feel that I'm experiencing a sadness with his death more than I have anybody else that's ever died in my life. I've had a few people die. I've had my parents die. Had some other good friends die. My other sponsors died. You know, but my parents, it was their time. You know, and I didn't think it was going to be Jude's time yet.
Left the meeting and I came back.
Selfish, maybe, yeah.
Why I'm at it. The volume was stupid.
So how do I put my, can I put my name on there?
You know, you have to.
Wow. What do you do when you lose a man that taught you to find a sense of peace that you were always looking for? It helped you find it. Remember, we'd have these big challenging problems, and I go, "Fuck, Jude, what are we gonna do?" You go, "Well,
You can't share on
do
it?
nothing." What do you mean do nothing, man? I gotta go do this, this, and this, and I can do. You go, no.
You don't want to.
We're gonna do nothing. What do you mean we're gonna do nothing? You do nothing.
But
Let's go get some guys and put them in the car and go to meetings.
Like over.
And that's what I did for years and years and years. Wow, some guys in there. I used to have this tricked out old Cadillac hearse, 1968 Cadillac hearse. We used to load like 6 or 7 guys in that car, go to meetings and go out to dinner.
you're right,
Had a
Dad.
fucking blast.
Still slap the shit out of you.
And
I love you,
we
kid.
used to
I love you.
go to
kid.
all the fun places to eat around here and all the good meetings.
Just a minor setback. I'm
You
coming
know,
back
we
to the empire.
built our life around helping out newcomers.
So
And we built a life around what we learned about staying clean,
that
about
more of that vaping, no more.
being at peace with yourself.
more.
You start dipping.
And that's one of the greatest gifts he taught me, learning how to be at peace with myself. Learning how to sit still.
Yeah.
And he was good at sitting still.
And I got a nick patch on there.
He was also very active when he was younger too. And that guy could walk all over here. It's crazy. But,
This guy they're talking about.
the bottom line of all of this is that I've lost probably one of the best friends I ever had in my life. One of the closest friends I've ever had in my life.
Can you please mute?
Like I said, somebody that knew my soul, and I knew his soul too. And there's nothing that could ever replace that. As you can't replace what's gone, but such beautiful, beautiful memories of what a wonderful 44 years of hanging out with somebody. I can't even begin to tell you what it's like, but it's heartbreaking, it's sad, but yet I know he's at peace now. You know, and the other thing we used to do this last couple of months was I called him up in the morning and I go, so you and Chris going to Disneyland today or what? And he go, you gonna go mountain climbing? I go, yeah, I'm gonna go mountain climbing as soon as you bring me back a Mickey Mouse sticker or something. Because we knew we couldn't do shit anymore, man. And who the fuck would want to go to Disneyland right now? I sure wouldn't. But we just tease each other because we used to go out and do so many things, and yet, you know, we're at a part in life where there wasn't much that we could do except for make it to the bathroom and back. And I'm grateful to be here tonight because I know, like I said, I haven't been walking. It's been a month that I've been walking again. I had something wrong with my legs and I couldn't figure it out. I think that time that I had to be at home and he was at home, and all those phone calls that last couple of months were one of the most beautiful things I experienced with him, because we talked about all the joy of living that we have. And that's what we're here to celebrate tonight, is that joy of living. You know, that man brought joy to my life. You know, and I know that I brought joy to his. And I know that Chris knows that I know that we both brought joy to each other's lives. And that's not changing, man, you know. God, it's we move forward in gratitude for the good that he taught me. All the good that he taught me. All the fun we had. Can't even get started on the stories here. There's children present, so I'm gonna sit down. The dog keeps going for hours. So God bless you all for being here.
What a great eulogy, and known Kevin for years.
Turn the volume down.
I know how what good friends are. I know how hard that was. You know, I was reading from a list, but Chris gave me, who was speaking. Like I said, I'm a little nervous. Because of that, my manners left me. So the first person who should have been up here is Christine, Jude's wife. And so please welcome Christine. And joining Christine will be Jude's son,
Yeah.
Jamie.
Wow. A lot of faces.
We're all here for you. We're all here for you.
A lot of faces. Thank you so much. Say that there's a cowboy who's had the shit kicked out of him. I believe Jude qualifies on that one. 18 years, the love of my life. Trying to get through this without doing this. That's all I need, black tears, right? He was fun. Still fun. Kept me more busy now than when he was alive. Sure. Like Kevin said, we could go fishing. We had so much fun. Tons of fun. I got to know so many beautiful people thanks to him. I'm standing in a room full of you right now. Thank you. So much. My family over there. Thank you. I know there's a lot of you in here. They've known Jude a lot longer than I have, that's for sure. Probably known him forever. This one's known him forever. And I want to see more of you. Betty. Wow. Unbelievable. The amount of people that came. The amount of people that I see on the screen in there. Wow. He touched a lot of people. He had an amazing way about him. He was like a magnet. He didn't even have to get up and do anything. People just came to him. I used to watch that in astonishment. People would just walk over to him. It was like they just knew. And he always had this grumpy face on, but he didn't always wear that grumpy face. He would bust his butt on that one. Because I knew he could smile. He had a tough year, fought hard. He got married on the 6th of January. And that's when he decided he was leaving on the 9th. Guess he figured, ha, nailed her after 18 years. See ya.
That long?
That's not fair. You're supposed to come home. But it's okay. I know his sister's out there listening. Vicky, I love you. Thank you. She was there with me. We both held his hand. And it was the most peaceful, beautiful passing I've ever been. Therefore, he literally went to sleep. And had the most beautiful look on his face. That's when I knew he was free. And I told him, you're perfect again. Go smoke your pipe, go fishing, go teach God how to fish and spin Wendy's. That's what he's doing with that other guy with the butt sitting up there, him and Danny. Thank you all for coming. It means a lot to me. Can't anymore. I'm gonna collapse. Thanks.
Can we get Elsa up here?
Hi, my name is Elsa, alcoholic.
Hi, Elsa.
I knew Jude for a long time, probably about 30 years. I think my girlfriend Cindy is with me, and I think it was Cindy who introduced us. And gosh, you know, what a guy. What Kevin said about Jude always saying, trust God. That was so, that is what he said a lot, just trust God and it'll work out. And you know, I most of the time that is right. He really had a lot of wisdom. You know, I always have had a very childish like thing in my mind about heaven and stuff like that, but I just hope that Jude and Louie, his good friend Louie, have somehow found each other now and can keep each other company, because they were quite a pair when they were here, and they would be quite a pair no matter where they were. And so I hope some way they have run into each other. But you know, a lot of times I can remember so many things about Jude. When Hogan was alive, taking him to the market, the grocery store. Boy, you get a lot of attention when you're with a blind guy who looks like someone from ZZ Top, and a big dog, and he is holding fruit and stuff like that, and knows his the brands that he wants, and it was a lot of fun. But after Kevin had to take Hogan and Jude went up to San Rafael to train for his last dog, Elroy, I went up to San Rafael and was there at the ceremony at the guide dog training school when the 4-H people hand the dog off to the person who that dog is going to live with. And it was so moving. I think Jude had been there a couple of weeks, something like that. And there were so many wonderful people up there to meet. And I had rented a car and we came back across the Golden Gate Bridge. Driving across bridges is not my strong suit. But by that time, the dog would not leave Jude's side. So it was me behind the wheel. There was huge Elroy sitting in the middle front seat, and there's Jude up against the window. And the guy at the gate, as we were coming across, just kind of looked at us, but he waved us through. And well, I remember we got to the airport, and I know San Francisco to LA is a very short flight. But as we walked through the airport with the dog, someone, when we checked in, gave up their seats on that flight so we could have a lot of leg room for the three of us and the dog. And I thought that was just absolutely, just a terrific gesture for a stranger to make. So it's hard to think that, it really is hard to think that he is gone. But Chris, where are you at? Oh, there she is. Meetings, I remember taking Jude to meetings over the years now and then, and it was always just great fun in many, many ways. But another thing that I remember like it was yesterday was when Chris had surgery, and I don't remember how long ago that was. And she was in the hospital, and so Jude was without her. And that man almost fell apart. And, you know, he was man enough to admit it. And he had a very, very rough time. And so, you know, Chris, not everybody is lucky enough to be lucky. But you were. And it is just something to really hang on to when times get rough. So I wish he could have been with us for many, many more years, but I will always cherish the years he was and the time that I got to spend with him. Thanks, Chris.
I'd like to call up the gentleman who introduced me to you, Giancarlo. Come on up for a second. Thank you. I'm Giancarlo Manata. Hey, Giancarlo. First of all, good to be here. You know, this park reminds me a lot too. You know, we spent a lot of time in this park. I started going to meetings in 1985. And so they took us, while I was still in rehab, they took us over to the Real Deal. It was a dance studio. And Jude was there. I recognized him. I didn't know him. I recognized him from school. We went to the same junior high. And I knew he was trouble. He seems to be doing okay. So maybe this thing is working, you know? And, you know, we spoke and then we started hanging out. And he never tried to, like, you know, he never tried to one up on anybody, you know? Everybody was kind of equal, you know, even when I had 6 months or a year, whatever. Oh, here's the other thing. Back then, like at the Real Deal, there was a guy that came up to me. He says, you know, my dad was a sergeant at the Hollywood Police Station. He had a picture of me. He told his kids, stay away from these guys, right? So he ended up in the same meeting as me, you know? Even though his dad was a sergeant. And here at this park, he come up to me at a meeting one night. He says, oh, the syringe in my car, I don't know what to do. And I said, oh, okay, let me see. But I grabbed Daniel. I don't know if some of you guys might remember Dan. Jude's friend Danny, yeah. Smashed it on the ground. But we had a good time though, you know, in those times in the mid-80s, it was, people were really excited about recovery. You know, really excited. You know. And A was growing, and I had an AA sponsor, Vinny Cerullo. But back then, it was not unusual for an AA guy to go to AA and vice versa. We were all just kind of like one big family hanging out. And so what I'm getting at though, like back then in '85, I think Jude had 11 years sober, maybe 10 or 11 years sober. Nobody had that many years sober back then. It was very, very rare, you know, very, especially in NA. Even in AA, it was like, it was a big deal if somebody had 25 years sober. Wow. So he was young. He was very young. And, he was an old timer, but he was consistent. He was consistent. He just kept doing what he kept doing. You know, we would go to meetings sometimes, and he would just be kind of dozing off. It didn't matter. Just the sound of the meeting was enough for him to feel like he got his steps for being. We'd be at Arlington. He'd be outside smoking. And he was there. That was the meeting. That was the meeting. He did things different. And so that's what made him, I think that's what made him more useful to certain people that might not have been able to connect with others. Yeah, so he was different, but we had some great times. You know, we had a thing here at that big building right there, and it was huge, and we had a variety show. We had professional comedians, musicians. It was a big deal. It was a lot of fun. Jude was involved in that. You know, I was in charge of security. So, man, right. We had a great time. You know, anyway. Yeah, people were having a good time. And said we get in cars, we go to Malibu, where we go to Skid Row. Just, you know, if we got tired of Malibu, we go to Skid Row. You know, we had some great times. And say that, like Harvey said, it's a life well lived. That's a long life for adulthood. And I'm sorry, I don't remember some of you. You know, my memory's not what it used to be. And I'm grateful to be here. I wish you all courage.
Can I get Bernie to come up? Bernie?
Suit over.
Hi, everybody. Just give me a minute. God, it's like I spent most of my life not shedding a tear, you know. I guess that's what recovery does to you. Chris, my condolences, heartfelt. It's good to see a lot of people here. You know, I've known of Jude for a very long time. Through a woman I used to go out with, a lot of stories, and through my good friend Louis, who was very good friends with Jude. And during that, I don't remember how long it was, you know, 2, 3, 4 years, something. You know, I spent more time with Jude, and you know, I just spent so much of my younger days and struggling with this thing. Trying to be cool, and it was interesting to be around Jude and Louis too. God, I miss them both now. How authentic Jude was, you know, and how he carried himself. You you know, and just had a good time just being himself. And I really learned a lot about love, the way you guys, it was crazy, you know, it was very loving, kind of just super trustworthy. Everything that you'd want, you know, in a relationship, you know, someone that you found super attractive and were sweet on and could trust and your best friend. And there was a lot of that. And you know, I mean, I think he just, you know, for a guy that, you know, that lost his sight, it seems like he really had an uncanny ability to see good stuff, you know, and to see beauty, you know. So I don't know how that works. You know, I have a very good life finally at 63 years old, rolling with like a little over 8 years sober. You know, I look, there's a lot of people I look up to, and he's certainly one of them, you know, because I didn't get sober to go to more meetings, you know, although I do that. But, you know, it's crazy to think that, you know, God, what am I trying to fucking say? I guess, you know, your values shift, you know. I guess when you're young, you want this, you want that, you want bags of this and sacks of that, and all that. And it's really shifted for me. And a lot of what causes that shift is just seeing value and how important love is, or a fucking hat, or I go over there and he have a knife collection and guns. And I was just like, well, I don't understand this, but I get it, I guess, you know. You know, and always caring, you know, always, you know, had a good thing to say. And you know, he's just a good dude, a good foul-mouthed dude with, you know, living with God inside of him and thinking of everyone else. And you know, it's a hard thing, you know, it's a hard thing to lose people. But I also have that, you know, this recovery has given me the ability to cherish the good stuff, you know, moments of sadness, but a much bigger depth of the good stuff. And yeah, we got to hang out. It's nice to see some people, you know, that I haven't seen in a long time. God, I really don't know what else to say. There's so much to say. I mean, 18 years of consistency and love, that's money, you know, there's a lot of value in that, you know. It's so I will try to be a living example of some of the wonderful things that some people that have come before me, and especially, you know, human beings like Jude and you know, and that's just what I do now, you know. Instead of trying to be super cool, I just try to be a super good human. And you can go to all the meetings you want, but you run into a guy like Jude or whoever we run into, you know, and you know, I try to be more like them, you know, because it's easy for me to get stuck and think most people are fucked, you know, and I don't want to get near them. So it's nice that there's some good people around, and I just try to honor that and look harder at that than all the other stuff, you know. So I struggle with talk. I think talk is kind of cheap, but anyway, I will. You'll always be in my heart, and I'll miss you dearly.
Yeah.
Bruce, I'm an alcoholic.
Bruce.
Hey,
Bruce.
Thank you for doing this. And thank you for giving Jude the life that he had to live for. terrible. It's just amazing to me how fast time goes by. And I met Kevin in 1988. I had come here from New York, and through Kevin, I met Jude. He started to work with us at Kevin's house, and I think he had Hogan at the time. And I never met anybody like him. He was kind of like Yoda, you know. He was quiet and wise, and he really wasn't quiet, but he was quiet and wise, and he always had the right thing to say, no matter what I was going through. And then Louis came along, and it was like they were attached at the hip. And you know, Jude was there, Louis was there, Louis was there, Jude was there for years. And we used to go Friday nights to AA meetings all over the city, and there was a group of us, 5 or 6. We'd meet every Friday night and we'd go. You know, back in the early days, we talked about women, and as years went by, we talked about our illnesses. And we used to joke about that. You know, it was like the topic of conversation. What was wrong this week? It was hard, really hard to watch him take the turn where his health started to fail. And you feel so helpless, and through it all, he just showed up, like he would say, trust in God, you know. And I mean, Chris, you know, really was there with him through the whole thing, and knows much better than I what he went through. I can remember the good times because that's when I really truly knew him frequently. He left a memorable impression on me. And it was a big part of my life for a lot of years. And he was one of those people that just had no idea how much he affected me in a good way, and a role model for me in a quiet way. It was an honor to know him. And, you know, as I get older and older, and, you know, I joke, I say, I don't know how to be this old. I never was this old before, you know. And I'm starting to lose a lot of people, and it's difficult, it's hard. And I'm glad I had the chance to meet you, and we had those years together and those Friday nights, and got to meet Chris and of course Louis and Damien. I remember from years ago when you used to come by. Where are you? Yeah. Just part of everyday life, and I'm just forever grateful that I had a chance to know Jude and experience who he was. And one of the guys. Thanks.
Mike, I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Mike.
I knew Jude from AA. That's how I met him. You know, I think I met Jude in my first year of sobriety, and it was at this Hollywood meeting, and he was, I mean, he was looking like a badass man. I was like, you know, I was a newcomer in my first year, and you know, he had Elroy then, and you know, it was like, wow, this dude's really approachable. You know, he's like, he was so nice then, you know, and I talked to him a lot then in the beginning, and then I sort of started going to different meetings in another part of town, and you know, I had a sponsor for a while, and then my sponsor moved away you know, and about, I don't know, about 9 years, 10 years sober, through Louis. Like, I was pretty tight with Louis for like my first 10 years or so. Like, and he was a fucking crazy dude, excuse my language. I was there on that level with him too, but I had done the steps and he just kept chronically relapsing over and over. And man, they say in AA there's a lid for every pot, and that was Jude, man. He, like those two dudes, like that's how I really come to know Jude. Louis sort of dragged me into his crew, and you know, I mean, he was, it was, I guess, you know, I saw through them watching, like I learned from Jude, like sort of like, I don't know if I can say this right, but like it's sort of like what Kevin was saying about him. He was getting Louis to, like he was teaching him, until you get right inside, you can't like have this good life that, you know, sobriety avails you. And I learned that, man. That's when I really started to learn it. And for about 3 years or so, Jude was like he didn't even know, but that was my AA program. It was like hanging out with those guys, like going to meetings, going fishing, night fishing. We used to go night fishing in Santa Clarita, and we go to like truck stop places to eat, and NA meetings and AA meetings. And I don't know, man. I think if Louis, I'm sure they met up, you know, and I'll bet you Jude is winding him up like a corkscrew, like
Oh, of course.
and it was just so entertaining. It was like unbelievable, but it, you know.
And he said, well, how do you know? You could hear Louis at the phone. What?
But Jude was so kind though too, like to me, you know. I mean, he gave me hats and pipes, and we used to like we smoked tobacco, like, and we'd always be like talking about the best English tobaccos versus like American tobaccos, and we would look for like pipe shops all over town. It's not like today, man, where all these vape shops are around. There aren't that many with the good pipe tobacco shops, and we used to, even then, this is about 10 years ago, we used to go to all those places. And I'm telling Chris, some of the best times of my sobriety was when we went fishing together and camping, and I got the Lake June, and again up there, not to make this about Louis, but we wound him up so much. It was so fucking fun. And you know, there's a lot of guys up there like with him now that you know, the ones I know, like Danny, you know, and like we went fishing with him and Louis, and I'm probably forgetting some people up here, but you know, yeah, because we used to go shooting too. That's one of my favorite things. Like, if people, I would tell people who weren't in the program, I went shooting to a shooting range with a blind man, and it was, it was like that Jack, the Indian guy. I don't remember his last name, but we used to go up to Kernville and just go shooting and fishing, and I just, you know, those were, like I said, some of the best times.
Pretty sure.
Oh, you would acquaint him, man. And he would just, you know.
Just don't stand in front of him.
It was no problem. I'm telling you, he knew what he was doing, and no one got shot, so don't worry about it. But anyway, you know, I'm sad. You know, I didn't talk to him this year at all. You know, and when Chris called me, I wanted to visit him right away, and I didn't get, you know, to say goodbye or anything. But you know, I'm you know, I lost my mom about 1.5 years ago, and you know, and the other people that have passed in AA, we find a God or not, but for me, I pray to people that I know, and I talk to them, and I still talk to Jude, and I talk to others, and you know, I don't care what anyone thinks of that, but you know, to his son and Chris, I'm really, sorry, guys. I'm sad for you and everyone else who he's touched. He was a great guy, man. He was the best. That's all.
Harley, come on up, buddy.
Strange. Thank you, Larry. And one thing I remember is Jude. I always get hard to say it's every year. Sit in the corner and he's looking for you. Hello, everyone. My name is Harley.
Hey,
I'm
Harley.
a recovered alcoholic. And it's not like I ran with Jude, but we went to a meeting every Tuesday night. Well, not every Tuesday night, because Jude, at first it was every Tuesday night, but after a while I'd see him periodically. But I did call him once or twice when I didn't see him. Because he was, like I said, I was telling you earlier, he was a gentle giant. He was humble, quiet, just mind his own business. As long as he had Chris to his side, he didn't worry about nothing else. I remember me and Jude used to swap cigarettes. She wouldn't let me smoke Newport. Menthol. So every time he see me, we'd trade cigarettes. He'd give me a Camel, I'd give him a Newport. But he was a good guy. He was a gentle. I got a hat. I got a couple of hats. And some boots Jude gave me. Because when I first went into recovery in 2001, that's when I met him and Louie. Him and Louie and the dog. I don't know his name. Storm, I think it was. Elroy. Him and he had it back in 2001. Louie, Jude, and the dog. That was a hell of a crew. And then when I come in there, they some kind of way we started hanging out a little bit, and that was the hell. I love that. That went on for over 23 years. I'm 23, and I met him my first year as a writer. And nothing ever changed. I never heard him get upset. I never heard him get loud. He was just, he's a gentle giant. His presence was known wherever he went. When he come in there, he'd sit, he'd hang out for a while. Like you said, when he get enough, make his way out the door. But I stayed in touch with him periodically. After COVID, I didn't see him for a minute. Every blue moon I give him a call, because I kept that number for some unknown reason. I always had their number. And I give him a call, and he would always give me a little something. And words of wisdom was his thing. He was a sharp old guy. And I never seen him upset. That's why when I heard about this, I really blew my mind. I look forward to seeing him. But when I went to Arlington about a month ago and they told me he passed, the first thing I did was go over and call Chris. It's true. She said, well, just keep me posted on whatever goes down, I'll be there. And that's why I'm here today, because I love that big guy, because he showed love to me. And I was brand new. I was fed off the block when I met you. And I felt like if he could do it, I could do it. That's why I'm still here today. For people like you that showed me the way. So they really care.
I tried to catch you when you came in. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Rex Fairwater.
You're right.
I know Jude, probably about 20 years. We grew up together. I met Jude at the park. And I had just come back from staying with my grandfather for a couple of years on the reservation. And Jude and about 3 of the other guys that we grew up with were fighting, about 7 guys. And I'd already had 2 beers by that time, so I figured let me help out. And I joined in on the fight. And the guys we were fighting some kind of rules. Well, on the res, the rule is win. And that's what we did. And I became friends with him ever since then, Jude could see in those days. He had both eyes, partial in one,
And he could box like nobody could believe. And he could hurt people. He had small hands, but they were bony. And those of you out there that have been in a fight, you know a bony hand hurts more than a meaty one. So as the years went on, we formed our own little clique. And we kind of, like a gang, we ruled the area. And the cops would get mad at us because the elders loved us. Every Christmas, we would find Christmas trees and we would give them to the elders. Sometimes we would go into the store and we would drop off some hams or turkeys to the elders, the ones that couldn't afford it. Jude and I had our hands racked by Noni. Do you ever hear Jude talk about Noni? His grandmother. And some of the guys would make a mistake and call her Italian. Oh, would Noni get pissed? Noni would tell you flat out, I'm Sicilian. And she had a bottle of grappa, a gallon jug. And grappa is homemade Italian wine with a kick. And Jude and I used to steal it. You're supposed to do it when you're 12 years old. You thought, try. Noni would be asleep outside the porch, nice breeze. We'd get in there, get the bottle, get a couple of drinks, pour something back in and put it back up because she marked it. And this went on for about a week. Every day, Jude and I had 2 or 3 glasses of vodka. We stumbling around the place where nobody else was. One day, Noni fooled us. And she hit us. Now, Noni couldn't walk that fast. But that cane gave her 3-foot advantage on us. And she was not afraid to swing that sucker for all it was worth. Jude had one of his fingers dislocated one time. My wrist was swollen for a week. She caught me in the knee one time. Jude made the mistake and stood there and laughed. She caught Jude right across the forehead. So everybody figured Julie and everybody thought, well, that's not going to happen anymore. We're 13 years old. We want to drink. His dad was drinking 102 beer. That stuff's nasty, you know? So we tried again. She let us take the first drink. When we reached for that second one, she cracked us. Oh, caught me on the shoulder, caught Jude on the neck. And it hurt bad, real bad. But like I said, Jude and I, we used to do a lot of crazy ass stuff that everything I heard you guys say, that's not the Jude that I grew up with. And when I came home from overseas, I found Jude and I was telling somebody that his bulldog's not in there, his old English bulldog. That was the first dog we had. And he was a crazy old dog. Jude waited like 6 months to get that dog. But it was a good one. And everything that we did as teenagers for 4 years, 13 till 17, almost 18, we got away with a lot of stuff. But we got caught for a lot of stuff. And most of the time, it was our parents that took care of it. We ended up doing different things, going GCYA, which is the Greater California Youth Authority. We both did our little bit of time in there. But even after I left, when I came home, we still were friends. When I came back, I didn't get along with anyone. A lot of the guys that have been in the service, you understand why. And I had a bad habit, best opium in the world when I was overseas. And, that would be that and the alcohol. So now I have 35 years clean and sober. And when my sons were born, I took my kids, they're about that big. And I just got them home from the hospital, maybe 3 days. And Jude was the only one that spent time to actually see the kids, see my sons. And my grandson, his name is Reagan Jude. Jude never had a chance to meet him, but I've told him about him. The rest of the guys we grew up with, they're almost all gone. I think there's one more. We got the original group. I'm the last one, and I'm the oldest one. Figures. But I've been, when I got sober, clean and sober, I tried AA. It wasn't for me. I went back to the res and I did White Bison, which is a similar type thing. And we do the same thing when one of our brothers falls. We have meetings like this, or gatherings like this, not meetings, gatherings. And some of the things that Jude and I did, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say because we'd probably get arrested again, we had a lot of fun together. When New Year's Eve, we all got drunk and we're walking across the street on Normandy and Clinton. There was a manhole cover right in the middle. And for some strange reason, Jude, little Ricky, and myself, the rest of the guys walked across. We each had a bottle of wine. One had Spinata. One had a couple of Coke 45s. And we go, I am walking no farther. And we sat down in the middle of the street. We sat there till we finished most of the booze. And no one called the cops on us. That was the kind of stuff I'm used to hearing about Jude. But y'all saying, like I said, I got together with Jude maybe 3 times since he was sober, and I was sober. And I could see the difference in him, and he was a lot happier. We used to have a lot of problems growing up, as all kids do, but I never expected Jude to turn out this way. Never in my wildest dream or hallucination, whatever they want to call it. But to me, he's got 50 years, so he started his journey long before I did. And I know that he was a happy man. And that's all that you can ask of. Happy, he's clean, he's sober, he's thinking with a clear head. This is what the Creator gave us, a clear head and that choice. And I'm glad that in his last, Jude was able to take that choice, do it the right way. Because when I left for the service in '68, I really wasn't sure I'd ever see Jude again. Because that's how bad of booze we were doing. We didn't care what it was. If it said alcohol proof in it, we drank it. And when I came home and I found that out, I said, wow, man, and I couldn't believe it. But out of all the ones that I grew up with, Jude was the only one that ever reached out to me. Whether I was still drinking or doing, he still considered me a friend. I never drank in front of him. I never went over to his house drunk or anything, because that's plain disrespect. But Jude was my friend. Thank you.
I'd like to call this is Sister Kathy. Kathy is responsible for all the artwork and the poster and a lot of the other stuff. So this would not happen without that.
you guys so much for coming today, not just out of respect for Jude, but for my sister. I mean, he saved her, and yeah, I think they saved each other. And funny, I would see him at the holidays. I didn't have a great relationship initially with him, but then she had surgery one year, about 10 years ago, because I went to his 40th birthday at NA. I was able to take him to that meeting and listen to his story. Wow, he has a story. And it was really cool though, because it was so neat to hear that story, to hear where he came from and what he went through to get to where he was. And it was really neat, and it drew me so much closer to him. And so it's neat to hear these stories because he was a great man. But please share your stories. You all have stories. Jude in some way has impacted your life. Then share your stories so that Chris can enjoy those stories. There's cards, there's pens, and so that she can reflect back on this and really see all of you who have come here today to show respect to him.
I'm Harvey, I'm an alcoholic. Yeah. Jude has been my sponsor, was my sponsor for over 29 years.
Temporary.
In fact, 29 years ago, I asked him to sponsor me. And he said, I can't, we're friends now, but I can temporarily sponsor you. Can you find somebody you can work with? He's been my temporary sponsor for 29 years. Now that he's passed, maybe I'll get a permanent sponsor. I gotta tell you, listening to what I've heard today is a reminder. He's one of the few people, maybe there's more I haven't thought about. I was just lucky to have met, lucky to have him in my life. Don't know what you have until they're gone. The best thing I can say, it was an honor and a privilege to be sponsored by him. Honor and a privilege to be his friend. Honor and a privilege to know him and to walk through the journey of AA with him. I got to talk to him in these last couple of days. And I got to tell him things he probably knew, but I had never vocalized before when he was in his last couple of days. And I told him, what a great sponsor he was. Well, I don't think I could have made it without him. And what a great friend he was, and how lucky I was to have him. And, a lot of things, if not everything I have, is because when you have somebody like you in your life, although you don't know it, he's like a role model. Somebody I live up to, somebody I take after. So a lot of the qualities I have, I think I got from him. And there's more to it than that. Like Kevin mentioned, we went to a lot of meetings together. A lot of meetings. Went to a lot of meetings here, Plumber Park and up the street on Gardner, up at Fairfax and Fountain. I could go just in this area. Went to a lot of meetings, AA meetings, NA meetings, CA meetings. I think when we were new, I even went to a marijuana anonymous meeting. A lot of meetings. And you know what? I always drove. He was not the driver he used to be when I started hanging out. And I took him in his dog. You know what? I learned that for me, going to an AA meeting was driving somebody else. I didn't know I was learning that, but I was learning that. And driving someone else and then going out afterwards, smoking and going to Norm's or going to Astro Burger right over here, Tito's Tacos. And it may be no coincidence that, like Kevin, my role in AA has been of service, driving a lot of people to meetings. Maybe I learned how to do that from driving Jude around, going for meals afterwards. I want to share a few anecdotes that Jude and I shared, and some that I heard about him before I met him. Jude told me, and this is where I think I fell in love with him. He said that Susan reminded me of this story on the way here. His whole life, all he knew how to do to make money, according to Jude, was either sell dope or do strong arm robberies. after he got blinded fully. He was now a blind gangster. It's tough to make money. And that's the way he made it. And I guess he could still see images and lights and sounds. And there was this couple walking in front of his house. And so he went out there with, I guess, a big screwdriver in his hand, something like that, trying to rob him. And he said something like, don't try to be a hero here. You know, just give me your money and get out of here. And he kept talking, and he realized he was talking to himself because the people realized he was blind and just walked away. And when I heard that story, I said, a lot of fun. On the other hand, he told me the story and made me kind of shake. He said there was this guy we killed. That's the way you guys were living like that. And he buried him under a bunch of leaves at Griffin Park. Left him for dead. And a few years into sobriety, he was sitting at, I think it was Candace, and some guy stood up to him and said, hey, Jude, remember me? It was that guy. That guy I killed. Imagine being blind. And some guy who you had killed and left for dead comes up and say, hey, remember me? That was scares me just to think about it. And he tells me, the guy said, hey, that's the way that we were living life. You know, if you hadn't done that to me, I would have done it to you. And he'd straighten up and I'd straighten up. But I think my favorite story was a personal story. Like 2-3 years into sobriety, I ran into a guy who had just gotten out of prison, a guy named Tibor. John Carlo, I think you remember him. Tibor was in a group called the Rennolds. I was at Bancroft Junior High. And, they were kind of the rivals of a group called the Prowlers. That was where Jude was in the Prowlers. Tibor had just gotten out of prison, and I started talking to him. He had a long stint in prison. How's this guy? How's that guy? How's this guy? That guy's dead. That guy's dead. That guy's in prison for the rest of his life. That guy's in prison for the rest of his life, but he's doing great. Why is that? Because he's very high up in the Mexican mafia. Okay. And I said, you know what? Jude, who had 23 years sober at the time, is my sponsor. And Tibor looked at me and said, you better stay away from that guy because he's big trouble. That's who Jude was. I have a few things that I made some notes of some of the things we went through and some of the cute anecdotes that I think happened to us. You know, when I had about 7-8 months of sobriety, I thought I was in a world of trouble. You know, because I go to meetings and there were people, maybe 5-6 months, who were so more advanced than me. They were like reading the book and doing all the steps and palling around with God. They knew like 15 prayers, and they said 95% of the people who come there, you don't make it. I'm thinking, who's not going to make it? Me, who's just having a tough time staying sober and going to meetings, reading the book. But these other guys who were way advanced, and I called up Jude, told him I was in trouble, and he asked why, and he said, you know what? So you going to meetings? I said, yeah. He said, you staying sober? Oh yeah. He goes, you're doing fine. And he hung up the phone. That's why it was a great sponsor for me, because I'm figuring out ways that I don't, that's what my disease does. I'm figuring out ways that I don't belong, that A is not for me, that I should go, and he's figuring out ways that I should stay. When I was in emotional turmoil, and you guys talk about trusting God. When I was in emotional turmoil about 2-3 years in sobriety, I asked Jude for some help, and he gave me a prayer that I still say every so often. It's something that is the most important tool I have in AA. It's God, give me the strength to do nothing. That's the trust in God that Kevin was talking about. If I'm doing all the work, when is it God's turn to do the work? They used to say in my first home group, like sitting with God. Something like, if that bothers you, why haven't you turned that over to God? And if you turned it over to God, why are you still talking about it? About 18, 19 years in sobriety, I was going through a series of things where the same thing was happening over and over again. And I understood, I heard that if the same thing happens over and over again, that's God trying to teach you a lesson and you need to know a lesson. So I called up Jude and I told him what I was going through. And I asked him, what's the lesson I'm supposed to learn? And what he said, he says, I don't know. But whatever it is, it'll be there when you need it. Trusting God. You know what? there was a time, because I'm a smart aleck, we were at a meeting. We were sitting in the back, I think he had either Hogan, may have been Hogan or Elroy. We're sitting in the back and I go to him because I'm a smart aleck. And I go, hey, Jude, they said that the winners sit up front and we're sitting in the back. What are we doing sitting in the back? And he said, Harvey, the newcomers sit in the back. If you want to work with the newcomers, sit back here with me. I mean, that's a service with Jude. Now, thing is Jude's sponsor for many years was Don Theodore. And Jude told me that Don Theodore told him that someone asking him for relationship advice was asking Hannibal Lecter for relationship advice. Hannibal Lecter, if you don't know, was that the bad guy in Silence of the Lambs. But to me, it really didn't matter. I would always ask Jude for relationship advice, and I always took it. Still single after 29 years. Good or bad. The advice seemed to make sense for me, but you know what? When you talk about how Jude started up, and for some of us, what's more important than how we started is how we finish. And, I got to tell you something. 2-3 years ago, Jude and I were talking and said, you know what my goal is? You know what I really want to do? I just want to stay sober for 50 years. And last year in about March, Jude had just gotten over a bad bout of COVID, almost died. And I went up to rehab where he was at. Chris was there, and I gave him a coin for 50 years sobriety. He had done what he set out to do, and more so. So to me, this is not only a celebration of life, this is a celebration of him reaching his goal and more in 50 years. But when you say how you start and how you end up, first of all, before I go on, I got to thank everyone for showing up. How great is that? Maybe some of you are like me, like you were blessed to have Jude in your life, and this is just one way of returning the favor of him being in your life. They say you judge the quality of life by the quality of people in your life. Jude certainly is a quality person. But he started out one way, but he ended up, I'll tell you something. The best part of his life, I bet you if you asked, is the last 18 years. The other thing we're celebrating here is Jude and Chris were married within the last month. So I guess we're celebrating the nuptials, But it was truly a love affair. Jude made me a better person than I could have been without him. Jude in the program. But I think both Chris and Jude made themselves better people. She loved him to death. I think she added, 10 years on his life. Easy. And one of the reasons I'm here is to thank Chris for the work she did with Jude, keep him alive and kicking. I don't know if I could have made it without Jude as my sponsor.
Birthday!
15 years. So thank you for that. And thank you guys for all coming. Thank you for your generosity with the food and condiments and stuff like that. It's great. Anyone who spoke, thank you for that. Check my list. I think
Hello.
I'll say this. A couple of things with Jude. First meeting I went to, my best friend at the time, Gary, about 45 years ago, asked me to come to a meeting. And I said, no way. Why would I do that? You have a bunch of pending criminal charges. I have no pending criminal charges. Why would I go to an AA meeting? Think about it. It doesn't even make sense. But I went to the meeting and I took my own car and I sat at the back of the meeting. My friend sat in the front. And I didn't like it and I wanted to split. And we got up and I'm ready to go. And the guy next to me grabbed my hand. And I didn't like that. I didn't know it was coming. So I had to make a scene about that and get louder. And then I looked around and I noticed everyone else was holding their hands. And I don't know about anyone else, but for me, when I do something stupid, what I do is do something even stupider. So you forget the first one. So I went out in the parking lot and got some bigger seat. The thing is, then I came to AA and I spent years walking in with Denise reminding me that I spent years walking with Jude and me. We went to so many meetings together with Jude on his arm, on my shoulder, and walking with Jude right next to me at his dog. And I did that so often that I'm pretty good at holding hands at the end of meetings now. Practice that enough right. And the other thing is when they told me to get a sponsor, I said, you know, I don't roll that way. You guys say, call somebody every day. I don't do that. Especially a guy, I'm gonna call a guy every day. Well, here's the thing. For the last several years, and even longer, I called you, like who said, almost every day. Because I needed to, because first of all, it was a pleasure. Second of all, it was an honor. Like people said, I'm calling a guy with so much wisdom, so kind, never talked down to me, never told me how dumb I was. And just trusted God. What did he say? Letting me have my own A experience, trusting the lash of alcohol to do that. But one of the reasons I'm not sure I can get a new sponsor, I've called Jude almost every day for years now. Let's talk about deep, profound stuff. Talk about old movies like The Dirty Dozen, Wanted Dead or Alive, stuff like that. And now that he's gone, it was like my connection to AA. Now that he's gone, I miss talking to him every day. It's a big void. And I'm not sure, I'm not that way that I call somebody every day. I'm not sure I could ever find anyone else who I'd want to call that often. So I've been blessed for these 29 years. I think that's it. I think what we're going to do now, it's okay, is rather than me calling up people, we'd like anyone who'd like to speak for whatever reason, for however short or for however long, for whatever purpose, to just come up to the podium and just say whatever you want to say. And let me sit down and be out. Thanks for listening.
I talk again.
You again?
Fuck no.
Okay, call the rest of the night.
I start telling stories that people don't want to hear.
What's seriously going on now?
Okay, if no one wants to come up, well, no, come on up. Come on up. But while we're doing that, it costs money to rent the hall. So let's pass the basket and please be generous.
Check the Zoom. Check the Zoom. It must not have any volume on there.
My name is Steve Jordan.
Madeline.
Just wait till just wait a minute.
Can you hear in the Zoom now?
You know, what we're gonna do, everybody's up.
Oh, yeah.
When they take their food and go back to their chairs. why don't
We are they going to call on a Zoom?
Question is, would they have
I think it's just a laptop that they have. I
Yeah.
don't think they have the ability to, it's not set up that way, I don't believe. I could be wrong. We're just lucky to be there.
Right up there.
Is it far away from here? Can I find my way back?
I'm gonna text my granddaughter. I see her over there and ask them to ask her.
Okay.
Trash. It has to be a trash can. Yes.
Yes,
Thanks, baby.
yes, he loved it. You want to write it down? Okay.
Here.
Oh, what's it?
What do you want?
Yeah.
Of course, I can't get a hold of anybody now.
No,
I'm digging
of course
here
not.
because I know I have.
There's Chris.
Well, his sister, I think she's the one that put the stuff together.
When I was in high school,
Yeah, it was
She must-
supposed to be a YouTube channel, right?
Yeah,
And nobody, I couldn't sign up, so who knows?
It was
I
really.
keep looking at it.
Yeah,
Hello,
hello.
Need a break.
you must have the volume off.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was Chris's sister that actually put the Zoom together.
Yeah. I was texting with Chris, but she doesn't have her phone on her.
Yeah, I tried calling her too. So the one guy that spoke, I was trying to figure out what his name was because I grew up with Jude too, and I knew all those people. And if he's part of our gang, he does not look familiar. And
Yeah, that was
it could
cool.
be.
Yeah, that.
I was with Jude, but before he went blind, I was with him when he went blind.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was in the Prowlers. He was talking about the two gangs, and Jude and I were in the Prowlers.
Oh, man, that's awesome. I've known Jude for about, I'd say 30 years, 30 years.
Well, I guess I've known him about 55 years.
Yeah. A lot longer. I was timelining with the dogs, with people that would mention the dog, what dog he had at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I
Hogan
met
was the
him.
first one, right?
Yeah, Hogan was. Yeah.
Yeah, I went up for the graduation on Hogan.
Oh.
I got my hands are dirty.
How you doing?
My old man was Jack. I don't know if you ever met him.
Jack what?
Gallegos.
No.
Long
I stayed
hair.
out of town. I was in a lot of trouble, so I had to get out of town for a while.
So like fucking read
Yeah, I got like 40 years sober.
Kevin. Oh, do you? It's like, I don't. And there's my son. Just walked by. So we can hear them, but they can't hear us.
Yeah.
So I probably have it muted. Who's this?
I was going to tell the story about when Damien was a kid. We used to go to fireworks, and Jude would put Damien on his shoulders. When the fireworks went off, Damien would tell him what they looked like, and Jude would go, "Wow."
That's hilarious.
It was. Unfortunately, we contributed to his blindness. Every time he was in the hospital getting it repaired, we take him code 45 to get drunk.
Outside, there was
Oh
that,
my God.
Yeah, and he'd get up and hit his head again and ruin the operation. And
heater working, it was so cold. We had to go sit outside. We had ourselves
Fucking
wrapped up
Jude.
yeah,
in front of the.
He was the most sighted
furnace.
blind guy I ever knew.
And it was Thanksgiving. And I was gonna-
most of my stories are about pranks that we pulled
So
on
I
each
wrapped
other.
it up in like 5
Oh,
feet of oil,
shit.
stuck that in there, stuck the potatoes in there.
See, that's my
And then
son right there at the
put
podium.
Is it?
Yeah.
I wonder if he's gonna freaking share.
I
No,
literally sat
I
out
tried
in
calling him.
the blizzard, watching the and it came out perfect.
He must be
Vicky-
talking to Kevin.
Vicky didn't recognize that guy either. So I mean, it's got to be Rex. They can't. They're all the rest of them are dead.
All right, Susan, come by one day.
Oh,
I'm up there
shit.
Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
So it's
Saturday.
just somebody up there
For
saying
now.
he's the last Mohican,
now.
huh?
Well, he knew a lot of things. That's why he knew some stuff that nobody would know unless he was there. And some of those correlated with what happened to Rex. Rex went into the army, then he got arrested in the army. But it sure didn't look like him.
No. Didn't answer.
No. There's a ton of food. Yeah.
You have to find the hat. The hat? Oh, really?
Someone put one right here.
Hey, Vicky, are you still online?
Put one right here.
No, doesn't look like it. Hello.
Is there any cheese in here or is it just chili?
I think it's just chili.
There's the cheese. I found the cheese. Oh my God.
Mike, hello.
Yeah, you think they'd have at least curiosity to look at the screen.
Right, right.
Oh, wait a minute. So the camera's turned, the computer's actually turned around. Camera's pointing out the other way, so they don't even see
yeah,
us.
exactly. Gonna call. No.
옆에 밥 먹었는데 옆에 밥 먹었다. 재원이하고 재영.
None of my family is answering, and they're all over there.
Yeah.
Oh, here's one of them.
Did you get hold of somebody?
Wow.
Anyways,
Okay.
his name was Rex, and
It was Rex.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
I'd
was
like-
talking.
Go ahead.
Kathy said that she won't be able, doesn't feel like she could get it loud enough for anybody to hear.
Are you talking to her still?
No, I was talking to I was talking to Chris.
Because I would have liked to have got Rex's phone number, but the thing is that Jude hasn't mentioned Rex in the last 30 years. And if he was talking to him, he would have let me know. So Rex must have found out somehow, which is we didn't know what happened to him.
Oh, wow.
We thought he was in prison.
Well, obviously he was on the res.
Yeah, well, that would be Rex. He was Indian.
Yeah.
But it just didn't look like him. He just had really dark curly hair when I was, when I knew him.
Yeah. So
He was always in trouble. Well, maybe Chris will have the phone number, or they might have had a sign-in list or something.
Right. Well, that's
Rex and I were pretty tight for a long time. That's what I was.
Oh, what a trip.
Yeah.
I guess they're not going to do any more sharing.
It's funny, they're talking about the two gangs, the Prowlers and the Rebels.
Right.
And at one time, we had a peace treaty, and myself and my cousin played with Kiki, who was in the Rebels. We were Kiki and the Potheads, and we played right there at Plummer Park.
Oh, that's funny. That's too much.
Yeah, we were terrible. But everybody was so loaded, they didn't care.
Jude used to tell stories about those days all the time.
All we knew, what was it? It was Louie Louie. We just kept playing it over and over. Anyway, who was talking? Nan?
Yeah.
Okay, hi, Nan.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Paul Booth.
Somebody's sharing now? No.
Somebody could eventually look at this.
They could have, I think they could have gotten it over there.
Well, they could
I mean-
could have at least looked at the computer.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I don't. I guess she's just lucky she got it hooked up for the computer. They probably didn't have a whole, audio visual setup.
No,
So,
it was just, yeah, a quick thing. That was good. They could at least turn it around.
yeah,
So we're looking at everything or seeing who else is there.
yeah. Somebody monitoring the computer.
Take it off.
Oh,
I'm gonna
trip.
have my granddaughter go turn it around.
Okay.
He was here though.
Hey.
No, he was here. It's one of those things where I'm like, he's here. All of a sudden, it's just like, nah, I like to pump on it.
Why, this is funny. Maybe 2 weeks, right? Take care.
You moved back to the other location? Are you really? Tomorrow's gonna be a busy day for you, brother.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Have a good one. Thank you. Take care of yourself, sir.
It'd be funny if somebody tried to steal the computer.
Yeah, go take care of yourself. Oh, thank you.
Thank you for inviting.
I think that's it.
Hey, you, turn the computer on.
Oh, it's.
Well, I'm glad you stayed. Retired.
Rex, where is he?
Well, that makes sense. She did all this.
Like, what can I do? What can I do?
Ah,
Wait.
there,
how about that? Do you see now?
Yeah. Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
No. Nothing to see anyway.
You can't hear though.
Yeah, it's on now, full blast.
Can you hear us talk?
Yeah, they can hear you now, but it's not really loud.
Hey, is that guy Rex still there?
I don't see him anymore.
Who am I talking to? Who am I talking to? Oh, well, thank you. Your son there's a big guy. Oh, well.
세 개 남겼어. 식구분이야. 빨리 써. 최선을 다하자.
Okay. Well, I don't think I'm gonna hang on any longer. So
You have to get one more, man. As usual. I got 4 now.
you're still there, Nan. Goodbye.
I'm looking at Zoom. You see me right in the front there? That's Paul, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul.
Hi.
I don't remember him.
He was a walker.
Probably. Who knows? I don't know.
두 개.
Who was that?
But know what?
Hi, Chris.
It was great. Kane, thank you for bringing your daughter.
Oh, right here?
This guy right here.
Rex,
Let's turn it up for you.
Rex, it's Paul Booth. No, it's Paul,
Paul?
the Joker.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, man?
Hanging in.
I hadn't heard anything about you. Jude hasn't said anything about you for years. Where you been?
I've been up on the reservation most of the time. I
Yeah?
stay up there. I come back. I'm back now to see my grandsons.
I didn't think there was anybody left. I thought I was the last one, except for maybe Smitty, who I haven't heard from.
Say it again.
Have you heard from Smitty? Smitty, have you heard from Smitty?
Where?
Smitty.
Yeah. I haven't seen Smitty since 70, 72.
Yeah, he's in New England somewhere, New Hampshire or something. But I think he's still alive.
Yeah, I understand Smitty's still alive. Prowler? You're a Prowler? Smitty's living up in upper New York.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, him and Nancy are still together, evidently.
Yeah. The only time I ever got a call from Jude was usually he was telling me who died.
Say it again.
Wherever I got a call from Jude, he was telling me who died.
Me?
No, Jude was telling me every time he called me, he told me who the next person was that died.
Yeah, I haven't. No, I've been. Smitty's the last one left, I guess.
Yeah.
Smitty wasn't part of the original group, but he was one of the secondary group. Yeah, so that's one more left. So, so what you been doing? Where you at now?
I live up in Ojai, Ventura. Yeah, I just got back. I was living in Memphis for a while.
Where?
In Tennessee.
Yeah.
I just moved back from Tennessee. Yeah. So, yeah, I've been doing pretty good. Stayed out of trouble. Been sober almost 40 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys all got sober before me.
Yeah, Danny was sober. Icebox and Don Theodore. I think I heard Don Theodore wasn't doing too well. Did you ever meet Don?
What?
Did you ever meet Don Theodore? Jude's first sponsor.
I've been staying on reservations for over 20 years. After my first son died, I lost my firstborn to cancer, and I went back to the res. I stayed in Oregon for 8 years. Then I went to Montana. Then I went to Wyoming, and I started doing white bison. 30 years ago, I started doing white bison after I had 5 years sober. And that's all I did, would just go around, big circle.
What reservation you on now?
Pardon?
Which reservation?
Go to Siletz, Yakima, Cheyenne North, Cheyenne South. I go up to Big Bears, that's a Blackfoot up in Montana, and San Carlos, and then I go home to Cubay, and I just make a big loop. I did that on the road for 5, 6 years.
You still doing that?
Just traveling, just setting up groups, starting getting the groups going. Now that it had 2 heart attacks, stroke, and I just basically retired. It's too much on me to do all the groups because the groups for us white bison are 4 hours long every time. That's 4 hours every night, and I just can't do it anymore. It's too tiring.
What are you, 73 now?
Pardon?
What are you, 73?
I'll be 75.
75.
So I say I'm the oldest one of the bunch, man. But other than that, Jude's the only one I've seen out of the bunch.
But you have been talking to him. You stayed in touch with him?
Yeah. And we'd call each other every month, every couple of months. When I got back to California, he reached out. We got together, and I've seen him like 4 or 5 times in the last year or so.
Wow.
That we just call. You know, I see Cheryl once in a while. That's about it. As the rest of them, when my firstborn died, none of them called me. None of them talked to me. Nobody's told me, "Hey, man, sorry to hear." So I said, "Fuck you."
I didn't even know you had a kid.
A lot of people knew it was out there. You know,
I thought you were in prison the last I heard, man.
I was. That was when I was in Colorado. Yeah, that was because of Frank. Because the guy who broke Frank's jaw attacked us later on, and he ended up dying.
Well, see, that's the last thing I heard about you.
Yeah, that was 1980.
Oh man, I'm sorry to
And
interrupt.
so I've been out since then. Yeah, I got out, and it was just like when I came home, there was no connection anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, I mean, I was still doing a little booze once in a while, but it was just, there was no more connection. So I got to get my boys who graduated high school, and I was sobering up. And so puts me at 35 years now. So there'll be 46, 44. So yeah.
Okay.
And then my youngest one, I mean, my firstborn, he was 24 when he passed. And it was a long year for me because I quit work. I didn't do anything. I just stayed with my son the whole year. And it just,
I was talking.
I wasn't ready for it mentally, emotionally. And so this friend of mine, my brother Dwayne, he took me up to the res up in Oregon, and I stayed there 5 years solid. I didn't see anybody for 5 years. I called my sons once a month. I'd call my sons, and I'd call my mom and dad. And but other than that, I just stayed on the res. I had to get my head clear, and finally it got clear. And then I came back. I came back when my first grandson was born. Then I went back again. I went back to Wyoming then. And then when my second grandson was born 2 years later, 5 years later, I came back. I've been back ever since. Because I can't drive like I used to. I used to drive nonstop. I'd make it to Oregon in 22 hours. 1,000 miles in 22 hours, you know. So, but can't do that no more. But my back is messed up, both my knees and my neck. I got pinched nerves, herniated disc, degenerating disc.
That's from all those good years.
Yeah. Well, I ended up with 17 motorcycle accidents, man. I got a list I can tell you too. I had 17 motorcycle accidents.
But you know how your back is, then, man.
Yeah. So, Owens, I talked to Elaine Severson. Remember Elaine? No, the one that never talked to us? Elaine Severson, Cheryl's sister.
Oh yeah, Elaine and I have talked quite a few times.
Yeah, I'm still in touch with her and Fred Kaufman.
Yeah, she when I came back, when my niece up in Oregon talked to me into Facebook, she was one of the first ones I texted to say, "Hey, remember me?" And we've been friends ever since. I mean, Elaine and I always got along great, you know.
Right.
So, but Fred got into a bad accident not too long ago.
I know.
It broke his back.
Hey, why don't you get me on Facebook?
So what?
Look me up on Facebook. You're on Facebook now?
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Yeah,
go
just look
on,
at,
I go on maybe once a month.
well, that's all right. You can still, keep up once in a while, let you know what's going on.
Yeah,
It's just Paul Booth, so,
okay,
all right. And if you need a number, Chris has the number, so,
okay.
and I'll tell you what I've been doing. So,
I mean, I got some other people want to get on here.
I know. Okay.
All
Good to
right,
talk. Good to see you, Rex.
you too.
All right, man. Take care, buddy. Thank you very much. Did somebody want to take the computer? Nan, are you still there? Okay, I'm gonna get off.
No, same here. Sorry, I muted myself
Oh,
while you
okay.
guys were talking.
All
Yeah,
right. Hey.
that's cool.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Get on with it.
All right. I'll
Okay.
talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Did you call me?
I guess everybody's logging off. We're going to Hawaii, right? I consider that I've never been. Yeah, I was keep this coming. Nope, so sorry.